Thank you for inviting me for this session. Internet of Things, this digital revolution is something which I am passionate about, and I will be taking you through, some of the how things are moving in the IT, in the telecom world, in the IoT world, in the digital world, so that as a faculty you will be in a position to understand how the future is moving and how you all have to prepare yourself for the future. A small introduction, I did my master's from IMT Ghaziabad, then my PhD, and then I am also working on the IoT frameworks for the government of India as well as for, you know, many other SAARC countries and Southeast Asian countries as well. So I usually start my presentation with this slide, and uh, you know, 11,000 years back was the first time when the human mankind was arrived on this earth. And people started thinking that yes, there is a mankind, and that's the first truth that started coming to us. A lot of things happened during these times, but it was in 1800s when the industrial revolution started. That means it took 11,000 years for a human mind and for our mankind to see a revolution. So what is a revolution? Okay, a revolution is something which gives three different changes. One, the technology change, because of which the productivity of a productivity changes to the nth time. Then there's a society change, and then a business model that gets changed. So the first revolution, which is the industrial revolution, came, and that was the first time there were factories in Europe. Factories started producing using technology, cloth, and people who are spinning the wheel, who used to take days to do a 1 meter, now there's a kilometer worth of clothes that can be produced in one day. That was the height, you know how the productions or the productivity improved because of technology. In a similar fashion, the society changed. I took a photograph and searched for this photograph because that was the first time the women started coming out for work, and this was a much bigger change in the society. Universities started, the books started getting published and printed, so on and so forth. So there was a huge change in the society, and also the business models were changed. The second revolution is the one where most of us were present, which was the internet revolution that happened in 1990s when the internet telecommunication started happening. And we all can see, how the computer has revolutionized everything, whether it's society, whether it's productivity, or whether it's the business model. And today we are into the Internet of Things or the digital technology, where the hardware will start talking to the hardware. The sensors will give you data, and the fans and the all other machines can start communicating to us, telling where they are, what they are doing, how is their health, so on and so forth. And you can use with the huge amount of data that will come, we can start using it for many other, uh, you know, decision making. As a result, there's a different kind of business models, there are different kind of productivity, there are different kind of social norms which are coming up because of the history. So we are in the third revolution. But before moving from this slide to the next, I like to compare these three revolutions. During the first revolution, India was under the rule of British. No one was training us, no one was skilling us, no one was telling us that there's a factory of clothes that's going to start in Nottingham or England, which will take away the jobs of the spin weavers. So Charkha people will lose their job. Because of that, a lot of people lost their job, and we became a market, and we had an extremely bad financial state because of the uh, first revolution. But during the second revolution, we were ruled. We had our own government, and the government started utilizing the internet revolution. We have so many things which are related to computers now. 250 billion US dollar worth of IT services industry in India is an example of how properly we utilize the uh, the second revolution. And the huge amount of jobs all over the world, people are using it. Today is the third revolution, where we have a Skill India, Stand Up India, Startup India, so on and so forth. So the government is preparing us to take the best use of this revolution. Now I go back to the second revolution. There, the best mind of India, they went out to find and create entrepreneurs, themselves as entrepreneurs. Today's Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Microsoft, all of them have at a senior level those Indians who had moved out of India during the second revolution time. Why did they go? They went because India didn't provide them the infrastructure or support to create Microsoft in India, to create LinkedIn, create Facebook, create Google in India. And all of them had to go and they had to go to the United States and many other European and countries create such kind of technology. But in today's world, government and other people are really supporting the creation of those startups, creation of those unicorns, the unicorns, the billion-dollar valuated companies in India. And as on date, we have number of unicorns in our country, which are really helping us to take the level to the next level. Hence, we are in a different world altogether, and the government is really supporting, and the ecosystem and the environment is there to create another Google, another Facebook, another Twitter, another LinkedIn, so on and so forth. Another thing which is common when the first revolution happened, industrial revolution happened, and or whenever the revolution will happen, people will lose their job. But there will be new jobs that will get created. That means people have to unskill themselves and people have to reskill themselves so that they can retain their jobs, they can continue using their job, continue doing their job. And that's the most important part of this particular journey, which I really like you to discuss with your students, discuss among yourself that every revolution brings job losses, a new kind of jobs, a new kind of businesses. An Ola-like company with no cars is becoming the largest platform for car hiring. OU with no hotels of their own is now the largest hotel services provider. So on and so forth. So we have so many examples of our in our life where we can see that there are different kind of business models which are getting generated. And I give you another example before I go to the next slide. In 2006, when for the first time the iPhone came, okay, people were thinking about what this phone is, and I personally was part of launch of iPhone by AT&T by doing some level of testing and many other things on that device. But today that device has completely eliminated the camera industry or the print photo camera industry. The small transistor that used to come, they are no more there. And if you start, the whole camera industry, when I say that there were film reels, there were colors, there were printers, there were so many things that used to happen because of the digital analog printers, analog printing that used to happen at that time for the photographs. But today, the video cameras is a mobile. Your phone, not only of from radio, from your camera, everything is your mobile. Even sooner or later, people will stop buying clocks or watch because mobile will become your phone. A mobile will become your clock. In a similar fashion, every revolution results in new jobs, new businesses, and old businesses, the legacy businesses, will change. Hence, this message is very, very important for all of us that this is something which will happen. This is going to happen, and people need to continue with the uh, with this change. Otherwise, reskilling is required, unskilling is required. If we won't do it, it will be a problem. If I come to the disruptive technology, Internet of Things, the number shows it will be everywhere. New cars, all people will be spending time, spending money. We are expecting approximately 1.7 trillion worth of money by this year to be spent only on Internet of Things or digitalization. Manufacturing, all of these industries will get disrupted because of these Internet of Things based technology. I personally worked on the Mahindra Reva car, and I really like to give this as an example. It is a green car, it's an electric car. Okay. But when I was participating in the design of this car and the working of this car, we realized, and there are 130 plus sensors that are put into this car. And through a mobile app, you can switch on the AC, switch off the AC, switch on the car. You can see where you are. The car will tell you that you left my door open. So there's a two-way communication, the connected car that happens. Okay. So there's a technology change, not only a green car, but also a connected car, which is talking to their owner through a mobile, through a desktop. And that's how, it's a new technology. But when we started selling it, it's a small car with a battery. So nobody was buying it because it was very expensive. So we had to change the battery as a service. So you have a battery, you pay monthly charge for the battery, and after 5 months, 5 years, we'll replace the battery. That was the kind of model of the new business model that we had to bring so that people start buying the car. Okay. So the change in technology, change in business model, and because of the climate and many other things, it's a change in the way things happen in the society. Now, another example I like to give, there was a lady in Jaipur who was driving this car, and as you can see, it's a small car. The back tire of this car got stuck into a pit. So, the call center agent was seeing through sensors that the car is running, but, the tire is running, but the car is not moving. So he got a bit confused that what is happening. The car is, the tire is running, but the car is not moving. So he called up that lady and he said, "Madam, it looks there's something wrong. Can I help you?" That shows the level of customer care or the customer relationship we can have because of the amount of data that can come. So these kind of innovation can come, and that we, if you know about the call center agents are trained as per the script. If this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. But we had never captured that there will be a time when the sensor of tire will be sending that I'm moving, but the car won't be moving. And that call center agent called up, and the amount of good feedback and the positive messages we got from our customers was excellent. That's how the things will change. The connection, this technology will bring huge amount of change in the society with the way we manage our customers, the way we work with our technology. It tells you how much battery is left, how many more kilometers can you run. It will tell you where is the nearest charging station, so on and so forth. So now I'm talking only about car. So, uh, you know, uh, all three things, that's why we call it a revolution. Okay. If I think about how the value chain works, so there are sensors in the device that sends data. So there is an event that gets generated, that get transported to the centralized location through some level of connectivity. So you need a connectivity. It can be a SIM, it can be a wire, it can be any other way by which you can connect and get the data from the device to a centralized location. Now, there are more of the mobile or cellular connectivity that is being used, but we have multiple other connectivity protocols and connectivity ways, because most of you are from the IT and communication. There are LoRa, there is Sigfox, there are many kind of other technology that are coming for the connectivity or the transportation purpose. Then it comes to the storage. It get in real-time data streams comes and gets into the data platform, and you store it. And then depending upon the analytics, you keep on triggering some kind of actions because of the kind of data that you have generated, and you can have a presentation layer, and you can do a rating and billing. This is the end-to-end how the IoT value chain works. And we also add the end-to-end managed services operations. So the call centers of today will have to get changed so that they will understand about the device or the thing, hardware and connectivity and IT. So a single product of IT, a single product of car, a single product of connectivity, that will not work in future. The future will be when all these three will be combined together and people will be required to learn all of them. That means the future education or the current education also requires people to understand both, say, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, communication engineering, telecommunication engineering, and also IT. Otherwise, you will not be able to run such kind of solutions which are integrating the hardware through connectivity to the software IoT platform. If I start thinking about any of the industry segment, whether it is manufacturing, public sector, financial services, consumers, consumer products, utilities, logistics, everything is getting impacted because of IoT technologies. Not only digital, but also IoT, which is specifically with devices connected. Okay. So because there is no industry that is not getting impacted, and I'll just like to smile and say even the education industry is getting impacted and will get impacted, because now we have robots with AI who can teach subjects and will have much more knowledge than many of our current teachers. So there is an impact and everybody's using it, and the future will be how will we use it. When we think about the government, you know, the there are three main participants, and academia is very important for us because you are creating the future. You need to see how the new skills can be built and how people are aware of, students are aware of for the new kind of jobs that will be generated. Government has done quite a good job by having the national electronics policy, national digital policy, national platform policy, standards, platform, IoT COE, AI COE. It was so surprising that uh, the Niti Aayog and the government of India spent money on creating such kind of COEs across India. But the government needs to do more on the data protection, the cyber security kind of things, so that we can ensure that the progress and the growth can happen among the industry, especially in the MSME side. People are still trying to learn what the how to move to digital technologies. At one side we are trying to compete with China, we are trying to compete with many other locations, and so we need to gear up with the quality, the production quality, the zero defect kind of thing, and ensure that the cost and the pricing can also be better. So to improve our standards, to improve our productivity, improve the way we work, there is a need for industry to adopt latest technologies. And without doing this, people will not be in a position to, compete with the international world. One thing I want to add: companies like Tata's, Reliance, uh, Mahindras, they are already investing into it. Maruti, and many other larger organizations. The main impact is going to come to the MSME sector, where they have less awareness. They need to be trained and told what is the path to be followed. They need to be informed what is the way to reach it, so that we can make them competitive. So there is a need for complete training and skills to be developed for industry, within industry, and through government and through academia for these. I'm personally working with, through my IET channels, with number of universities and trying to see how can we have an IoT COEs in their institutions. How can we start a credit course in the institution for the students to learn and be skilled enough to take a job, and focus on labs and live experience, so that a skill building can happen. All of these things are happening, and if you see all the three things, whether it's a COE is being created by the government, whether the industry needs some level of program management, R&D to solve challenges and skills, everybody looks towards the academia to provide us that skilled resource so that we can fight with the challenges coming. From the global, I now like to come to the Indian environment. And if you see, in the last few years, the smart city, the Arogya Setu app, the Jandhan Yojana, uh, the devices to be put into the vehicles, commercial vehicles across India, satellites moving, all of them are trying to gear up for the 50 billion plus market, which the government of India is trying to create for the digital world in India. If you just think of Ganga rejuvenation or a smart transport or a smart environment, everything is using how sensors, how platforms, how communication, everything will be used. Now we are trying to work on the remote patient monitoring, and during the COVID time, sometimes we need to see how COVID time helped in the telemedicine kind of growth in India. We started the telemedicine and the telecom, the telehealth, all of these things started, and the huge amount of trainings had happened were excellent. there's a huge amount of jobs that are getting created, and I think all should be aware of how these things will happen. Whether it's a smart building for energy management, smart environment, transportation, everything requires lots of technology enhancements, and the skills that will be required to create this are still not available. So it's time for all of you to start thinking about this and see what can we do. Whether it's a climate change, water waste management, sanitation, everywhere the government is trying to work on digital technologies. This is one of the good example which I have, and that is something being used long back in India. People had uh, you know Asha Didis were created, two ladies in every gram panchayat or a village who were supposed to go to each and every house, check the pregnant women, give them some level of vaccinations, and when the child is born, give them the proper vaccination. That was the way they were trained on doing it. The current government thought, how can they improve the infrastructure in these areas? How can they further train it so that there are video conferencing facilities available, there are trained staff available, there is a devices available on these primary healthcare centers in villages, so that people can the doctors from Delhi, Bombay, big cities can start interacting with the villagers and try to resolve their problems where they are, instead of letting them come to the city. So it will improve the productivity, it will reduce the travel. If they are required only for essential areas, then they will be required to come to the cities for their checkups, for their treatment. Right now, if you remember the BharatNet project, the BharatNet project was implementation of broadband connectivity in all the 2,500, 2 lakhs, gram panchayats in India, around 600,000 gram panchayats. Okay. Now there is a project which started by Government of India, which is called Wing, which is the providing the Wi-Fi connectivity in the villages, how to create the hotspots in the villages. All of these things are happening currently. It is so good to see the standards have been identified for these for these devices, how the protocols will happen, and how the ecosystem will happen, so that the connectivity is there, the devices are there, the video conferencing facility is there, then doctors can also be there to provide guidance to the people who are really needed in the village. So this is another example of how in it's a healthcare industry, latest technologies have been used and can provide lots and lots of uh, you know uh, benefits. The manufacturing industry, if you keep on thinking about how the manufacturing industry has been benefited, there is something called Industry 4.0. In India, it is because we have a different kind of setup for micro, small, and medium industries. We are calling it Samarth 4.0 for India specifically. So how can we help in digitalization? But if you go to the Chakan plant of Mahindra's, or you go to the Manesar plant of Maruti, most of the work is happening through robots. And how they have been able to implement the Industry 4.0 and how they are integrating their factories, so that they all can join hands and they all can do it and they can continue. There's a long way to go. During the COVID time, if you start thinking, the teachers could teach their students to work from home. The IT industries continued working because people were using cloud, people were having internet, people were having laptops or the desktops at home, so that they can continue their job. There was less productivity loss. There were minimal productivity loss in the service industries, especially the IT or the communication. But if you think about the manufacturing industry, the lockdown means the complete stoppage of the factory, no work, no production, because you were dependent upon human to start the machine, start from the raw material to everything. It was humans who were doing it. Now people are realizing in India that there's a need for digitalization, remote monitoring, remote access to the production plant, so that with the least amount of impact of such kind of lockdowns, people can continue with their productivity. So Industry 4.0 is a German word or the American or Western word. In India, we have Samarth, which is being used. There's a in-premise personal tracking kind of solution, on-premise. Especially in the states like Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, where there are Maoist or Naxalite kind of problems, there are employees in the railways who are supposed to walk on the rail track and try to see if the rail track is fine or not, and they physically verify, physically check it. Such people were given such kind of some gadgets so that they can be tracked whether they are doing it or not. In case they find any problem, instead of coming back and telling, they can from there they can do it. You can imagine such kind of remote areas might not have proper connectivity. So these SOS calls or SMS can be given in a very, very weak connectivity or even through satellite in case of emergency. So that's how such kind of solutions have been used to provide people tracking for security and safety. The smart campus or the smart cities, everything gets connected, whether it's a CCTV cameras, PAN board, sensors, mobile devices, everything is getting connected and providing data so that people can use it. And in the education sector also, in the smart campus, you have a touch boards through Wi-Fi. You can connect to everything, and that's how the future looks like the smart campus. Many of the private institutes have already moved to the smart campuses, and I really feel that as a department, if you feel that something can be implemented, that will be really great. CCTV cameras are now everywhere, which is reducing the theft, security risk. And, we personally implemented it in Lucknow. We were able to save number of kidnapping, number of thefts of the cars. We could, the moment the theft happened, how soon can you capture it? How soon can you, track it? Is something which has been possible using CCTV cameras and the telematic device. I can keep on continuing. And every industry I speak, this is an impact. This is an example of a virtual mirror, in a boutique. So instead of you changing in a trial room every dress and seeing yourself in a mirror and trying to see how you look like, you touch it and you will get a feel of how will you look like in a mirror. So if a color is changed, how will you look? If this style is changed, how you look? Such kind of virtual digital cameras, smart mirrors are already available. So this is happening. Hospitals, hospitality sector, the mass sports entertainment, you can see the as close as you want the football match. Right now the Euro Cup is happening, everybody is watching it. You can review and you can see how a particular thing happened. So there's a great deal of digital usage in hospitality and the sports sector. In a camp, if you go live, if you go virtually see a match, you can say this is the seat where I want to sit and see the match from the seat, and you can virtually be there and see it. I recently found a startup started a virtual reality kind of business where you can participate in the aartis of many big temples, or you can go to a church and attend a mass. So if it is a Vaishno Devi aarti or a Tirupati Balaji aarti, you just pay a money, and from a virtual gadget, while sitting at home, you will see as if you are participating in the live aarti. So many people have started using it. So what I'm trying to tell you that these digital technologies are giving different kind of business models, and people are really using these technologies to find ways of how they can use and do it. While the first slide I told you that there are job losses whenever there is new technology. Okay. But what we try to work with another company, how to serve the unserved. So on the left hand side, you can see e-rickshaw. This e-rickshaw can be moved and can be changed or collapsed into a, in Hindi, we call it thela, where you can sell the vegetables. So these e-rickshaws start from cities like Meerut, Muzaffarnagar, and within the 25-kilometer range, they will collect all the vegetables, fruits, and they will take from the farmers whatever they like to have next day. So they bring back to the city, sell them in the evening, and utilize this vehicle as a transportation device during the day, so that it will help as an Amazon for the villages. And what we just started doing it, we added some kind of medical devices into this in this vehicle. So you can check your temperature, blood pressure, sugar, electronic, digital ECG. And if there is some problem, only then you will go back to the city. If you come to the city and you do a particular test, you might have to pay some to say 250 rupees. But this particular person in the car in the e-rickshaw vehicle will charge you only 50. So there's a business model, there's a commercial angle to it, so that they can start earning, and this is a sustainable model. It is a new kind of thing which we started. It is giving new jobs, new kind of services. Places where there were no hospitals, there were no you know uh, blood test kind of things available, or such kind of checkings. The driver was trained so that they can do minimum things and allow such kind of services at doorstep of the villagers. This has been working well. A lot of new jobs that can be created. It will also reduce the carbon footprint. It will be many other things which we are thinking. How can we put our soil sensors into it so the farmer can bring soil and they can be told which nutrient is weak, what kind of insecticide, pesticide that can be used. We are using a water sensors which will be able to tell the quality of water. We are putting a drone into it which will take pictures of the farms, will see the kind of insects and the pests which are available, and will provide the data to a centralized research labs which will be able to guide the farmer what is the kind of pest controls and the insecticides they should be using. This is one of the best use of technology. In April 2016, Art of Living came out with the with an article in the newspaper that using technology they were able to revive. You all know a place called Latur. Latur used to be a famine drought affected area with no water. In last few years, the government has started sending water through railways, and so that people are not dying because of lack of water. But Art of Living found through satellites that there used to be thousands of years back, there used to be a river, 18.5 kilometer river that used to flow in that region. Okay. They started working on it. They started reviving that river, and they were able to revive around 4.5 kilometers of that river through the kind of project they were doing. We, as Aries, as a company, we requested the Art of Living, and we told them that we have a technology which will allow them to use the technology to do such kind of work more. Okay. And to my surprise, I got an appointment with C.C. Ravi Shankarji. He understood, he tried to understand the technology. He allowed and he asked his team to start using it. We started delivering it. And as a result, the same team of experts, now they don't have to travel to each and every location. From the kind of remote sensing, remote data, they are able to see from remote locations what can be the way to revive the rivers. They now have been able to start in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu also, and many other places in Maharashtra, and they are reviving different water bodies. I feel that this is the best use of technology. How can we revive, rivers or lakes, and how can we bring water for people who are thirsty, who are dying because of lack of water? So that's the use of technology in the social sector. While I'm talking about digital technologies, and I have given you a number of examples, one thing which we all have to understand that when we use new technologies, there are so many parties attached, whether they're academia, research, standards, government, industry, technology related to telecommunication, system integrators. There are lots of issues which still to be managed, and the current roadblocks are more of an interoperability. Each and every device has their own protocols to provide data. We are not having uniform standards. The India, especially as a market with a huge amount of opportunity, but such a cost-sensitive market that the cost sensitivity really stop you from a radical growth that can happen because of this security and data privacy. But I must mention here that the skill gap is the biggest showstopper right now, because we do not have people with skills who can work on such kind of things. That's all from my side. I've taken quite a good time of yours. Thank you very much.